What if Naruto and Fu share same bond? Part 1. Days passed, but that something between them never quite went away. It lingered in the way Fu would sit just a little too close, her arm always brushing against his. In the way Naruto would catch himself watching her, noticing the way her smile softened when she thought no one was looking. Neither of them said anything, but they both felt it. One evening, after a particularly exhausting training session, they found themselves lying side by side on the grass outside Konoha, staring up at the sky. The stars were out, twinkling like tiny flames in the dark. Man, Fu sighed, stretching her arms over her head. I wish this moment could last forever. Naruto chuckled. What? You like staring at the sky that much? Fu smirked, turning her head to face him. Nah, I just like spending time with you. Naruto's breath hitched. Fu must have noticed, because her smirk widened. You're blushing. I am not. Too. Shut up. Fu giggled, rolling onto her side to face him completely. Admit it, Whiskers. You'd be lost without me. Naruto scoffed. Please. I'd be fine. Fu arched an eyebrow. Oh, really? Who would wake you up in the morning? Who would steal your food just to keep you on your toes? Who would make your life exciting? Naruto opened his mouth, then closed it. Because, damn it, she had a point. Fu snickered. See, you'd miss me. Naruto grumbled. *tch, whatever. But then, quietly, he added, yeah, maybe. Fu blinked. For once, she seemed caught off guard. Then she smiled. Really smiled. Good. Naruto swallowed, feeling something shift in his chest. A breeze rolled through the grass, making Fu's hair flutter slightly. She was still watching him, her gaze steady, something unreadable in her eyes. Slowly, hesitantly, she reached out, just barely brushing her fingers against his. Naruto didn't pull away. Instead, he let their hands rest there, barely touching, but connected all the same. Neither of them said anything. But in that quiet moment, under the endless sky, something between them changed forever. The silence stretched between them, but it wasn't awkward. It was heavy, not with tension, but with something deeper. Something neither of them had the words for yet. Fu's fingers twitched slightly against Naruto's. Just a small movement, hesitant, uncertain. Naruto swallowed. His heart was beating a little too fast, his mind racing with thoughts he didn't know how to handle. She was right there. Close enough that he could see the faint glow of her orange eyes in the starlight, the way her green hair framed her face so perfectly. He should say something. Anything. But before he could, Fu let out a quiet chuckle and rolled onto her back again, staring up at the sky. Damn, she murmured. Didn't think I'd actually make you speechless. Naruto exhaled, relieved and frustrated all at once. You wish. Fu grinned, nudging him with her shoulder. You're so bad at this. Naruto turned his head to glare at her. Bad at what? Fu smirked, propping herself up on her elbows. Feelings, dummy. Naruto scowled. I have plenty of feelings. Fu laughed. Yeah, name one. Annoyance. That doesn't count. Frustration. Still doesn't count. Naruto huffed, turning away. Whatever. Fu giggled, then suddenly flopped down beside him again, her face way too close to his. You like me, don't you? Naruto choked *wh what? Fu cackled at his reaction. Oh man, you totally do. I do not. Naruto sputtered, face burning. Fu grinned like she had just won a battle. You do. I hate you, he grumbled, rolling onto his side, away from her. Fu laughed but didn't push him any further. Instead, she settled back onto the grass, humming softly to herself. Naruto sighed, his heart still hammering in his chest. He hated how easily she could mess with his head. But even as he scowled, he knew. She wasn't wrong. For the next few days, Fu didn't bring it up again. She didn't tease him, didn't push, didn't force him to acknowledge whatever that moment between them had been. And somehow, that made it worse. Because now, Naruto couldn't stop thinking about it. He found himself sneaking glances at her more often than he should. The way she grinned when she pulled off a perfect move in training. The way she stretched her arms behind her head, eyes closed, completely at ease. The way she smelled, fresh, like rain and wind, something wild and free. It was driving him insane. And the worst part? Fu knew. She caught him staring way too many times, and every time, she would smirk like she was waiting for him to say something. But Naruto was not going to give her that satisfaction. So, obviously, he did the only thing he could. He avoided her. Not completely, that would be impossible. But he found excuses to cut their hangouts short, trained alone more often, even made himself busy just to keep his mind from spiraling into whatever dangerous territory it was heading toward. He convinced himself that it was working. Until one night, when Fu cornered him. Alright, Whiskers. Spill. Naruto nearly jumped out of his skin when Fu suddenly appeared in front of him, hands on her hips, blocking his way. WH what? You've been acting weird all week. Fu narrowed her eyes, stepping closer. Avoiding me, getting all twitchy when I'm around, what's your deal? Nothing. Naruto blurted out way too fast. I'm just busy. Fu raised an eyebrow. Right. Because you, the guy who always complains about being bored, suddenly have a packed schedule. Naruto scowled. It happens. Bullshit. Fu stepped even closer, tilting her head. What? You scared of me now? Number. Then why are you running? Naruto opened his mouth, then shut it. Because he had been running. From her. From this. And the way Fu was looking at him now, serious, unreadable, made it impossible to ignore anymore. A heavy silence settled between them. Then, quietly, Fu spoke. Is it, me? Naruto's eyes snapped to hers. What? No. It's not. It's not you. Fu hesitated. Then what? Naruto clenched his jaw. He should just say it. Just admit it and get it over with. But the words got stuck in his throat. Because saying it out loud would make it real. And that scared the hell out of him. Fu sighed, rubbing the back of her head. You're impossible, you know that. Naruto swallowed, forcing a smirk. Yeah, well, so are you. Fu huffed. Then, before he could react, she grabbed his wrist. Okay, fine. If you won't talk, then let's do this my way. Naruto blinked. What are you? Fu suddenly pulled him down, her face just inches from his. Naruto's breath caught. I'm gonna count to 3, Fu murmured. If you don't want this, if you don't feel anything, then pull away. I won't say another word about it. But if you stay, She didn't finish. She didn't need to. Naruto could barely think. His pulse was hammering in his ears. Fu's fingers tightened around his wrist. 1. Naruto swallowed. 2. He should move. He should But he didn't. 3. Naruto stayed. And then Fu kissed him. It was soft at first, almost hesitant, like Fu was giving him a chance to pull away. But Naruto didn't. He couldn't. His mind had gone blank the second her lips touched his, and all he could do was feel warmth. The scent of rain and wind. The way her fingers curled into the fabric of his jacket, like she was waiting for him to respond. And then, he did. Naruto moved without thinking, one hand gripping her waist, the other sliding up to cup her cheek. Fu let out a small, surprised sound against his lips, but she didn't pull back. If anything, she pressed closer. The world blurred. All that existed was her. Until suddenly, Fu broke away, gasping for breath. Naruto stared at her, heart pounding, brain struggling to catch up with what had just happened. Fu blinked at him, her cheeks flushed, eyes wide. Then, In true Fu fashion, she grinned. Knew it. Naruto groaned, dropping his forehead against her shoulder. You're so annoying. Fu laughed, breathless but triumphant. And you like it? Naruto didn't answer. Because, damn it, she wasn't wrong. Asterisk. The walk back to Naruto's apartment was quiet but not awkward. Fu's usual energy was still there, but now there was an edge to it, like she was buzzing with excitement, barely holding herself back. Naruto, on the other hand, was still trying to process what the hell had just happened. He had kissed Fu. Fu had kissed him. And he had liked it. Asterisk. A lot. Asterisk. Which, honestly, terrifying. Oi, Whiskers. Naruto snapped out of his thoughts just in time for Fu to poke his cheek. You're thinking too much. I'm not. Asterisk, he muttered, shoving her hand away. Too. Naruto scowled. I hate you. Fu smirked. You really don't. Naruto groaned. I'm never gonna hear the end of this, am I? Nope. Fu chirped. Naruto sighed, running a hand through his hair. Asterisk tch. Whatever. Fu grinned. So, asterisk what now? Naruto hesitated. Because yeah asterisk. What now? They had kissed asterisk. That was kind of a big deal. But, did this change anything? Fu must have noticed his hesitation, because she rolled her eyes. Relax, Whiskers. I'm not asking you to marry me. Naruto choked. Wah. Who said anything about that? Fu cackled asterisk. Your face. Oh my god, you're so easy to mess with. Naruto glared. You are the worst. And yet, asterisk, Fu said, stepping closer, tilting her head up at him, you're still here. Naruto swallowed. Because she was right. He was still here. And despite everything, despite the teasing, the confusion, the way she drove him absolutely insane, he didn't want to run anymore. So, taking a deep breath, he met her gaze and said, yeah. I am. Fu blinked. Then, slowly, she smiled. Not her usual smirk. Something softer. Something real. Asterisk. Good. Asterisk, she murmured. And just like that, whatever this was between them, whatever it would become, felt right. Asterisk. The days that followed were different. Not in a huge, dramatic way. Naruto and Fu were still themselves, still bickering, still teasing each other, still training like nothing had changed. But something had. It was in the way Fu leaned against him just a little longer than necessary when they sat together. The way Naruto found himself reaching for her hand without thinking. The way their gazes lingered, the unspoken understanding passing between them in quiet moments. And, of course, the way Fu kept messing with him. Oi, Whiskers. Naruto barely had time to react before Fu pounced, jumping onto his back, wrapping her arms around his shoulders. What the hell, Fu? He yelped, stumbling forward. Carrying tax. Fu declared. Boyfriends carry their girlfriends, it's the rule. Naruto nearly choked. Wah, boyfriend. Fu snickered. You kissed me back, didn't you? That makes it official. That's not. Naruto groaned, rubbing his temples. You're impossible. And you love it. Naruto didn't respond. Because, unfortunately, she wasn't wrong. Asterisk. Despite the teasing, there were quiet moments too. Like when they trained late at night, exhaustion weighing on their limbs, and instead of heading home, they just sat in silence, enjoying the cool air. Or when Fu absent-mindedly played with his fingers, tracing little patterns on his palm while they lay in the grass, watching the clouds. Or the first time Naruto caught Fu staring at him, not to mess with him, not to tease, but with a look in her eyes that made his chest tighten in a way he didn't fully understand. What? He asked, blinking. Fu tilted her head. Just thinking. About. Fu hummed, then smiled. How lucky I am. Naruto's brain short-circuited. Asterisk WH. Fu laughed, reaching up to flick his forehead. Relax, Whiskers. I'm not gonna get all mushy on you. Naruto scowled, rubbing his forehead. Could have fooled me. Fu smirked. Admit it. You like it. Naruto huffed, looking away. Because, yeah, maybe he did. As time passed, Naruto stopped questioning it. He stopped overthinking every touch, every glance, every teasing comment that somehow felt a little too real. He stopped trying to figure out when exactly this had started, when Fu had become the person he wanted to be around more than anyone else. Because, honestly, it didn't matter. What mattered was now asterisk. And right now, Fu was lying across his bed like she owned the place, arms stretched out, her bright orange eyes lazily following him as he paced the room. You're making me dizzy, asterisk, she drawled. Sit down already. I can't just sit down. Naruto snapped, throwing his hands in the air. Tsunade Bachan just gave me a super important mission. Fu blinked. Okay, so why are you acting like it's the end of the world? Naruto groaned. Because I'll be gone for weeks. Fu frowned at that, sitting up. Oh. Naruto hesitated. Yeah. A beat of silence passed. Fu's usual grin was gone, replaced by something thoughtful. Then, with a sigh, she flopped back down. Well, that sucks. Naruto ran a hand through his hair. Yeah, tell me about it. Another silence. Then, you'll miss me, won't you? Naruto scoffed. Asterisk TCH. Please. Fu smirked, rolling onto her side to look at him. You so will. Naruto huffed, crossing his arms. You're full of yourself. And you like it. Naruto opened his mouth, then closed it. Because, damn it, she wasn't wrong. Asterisk. Fu laughed, then patted the empty space beside her. Asterisk come here, Whiskers. Naruto hesitated, only for a second, before finally giving in, sitting beside her. Fu immediately leaned against him, resting her head on his shoulder. Don't die while you're gone, okay? Naruto snorted. You kidding? I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I don't do dying. Fu chuckled. Good. Naruto exhaled, relaxing into her warmth. Yeah, he was definitely gonna miss this. The night before his departure, Naruto found himself lying awake, staring at the ceiling. He wasn't nervous about the mission, not really. He had been on plenty of them before. Dangerous ones, long ones, missions where he had to push himself to his absolute limit just to come back in one piece. But this time was different. Because this time, he was leaving someone behind. Someone who had wormed her way into his life so effortlessly that he wasn't sure when, exactly, she had become so important to him. And now, he had to leave. Can't sleep. Naruto turned his head toward the open window, where Fu was crouched on the sill, grinning at him. What the, Fu? He hissed, sitting up. What the hell are you doing here? Breaking in, asterisk, she said cheerfully, hopping into his room. Obviously. Naruto groaned, rubbing his face. You're gonna get me killed. Relax, asterisk, Fu said, plopping onto his bed without a care. Figured I'd stop by since you'll be gone for weeks asterisk. Naruto sighed. You do realize I'm leaving first thing in the morning, right? Yup. Then why are you here? Fu shrugged. Because I wanted to be. Naruto blinked. Fu wasn't acting any different. She was still her usual, chaotic self. But something about her voice, about the way she was looking at him, felt different. Softer. More real. Fu. Asterisk. Shut up for a second. Asterisk, she interrupted, leaning back on her hands. I need to do something before I lose my nerve. Naruto frowned. What? Asterisk. Then, before he could react, Fu grabbed his shirt and pulled him down into a kiss. Unlike the first time, this one wasn't teasing. It wasn't playful. It was deep asterisk. Slow. Like she was trying to memorize everything about him before he was gone. Naruto's breath hitched, but he didn't pull away. Instead, he leaned in, one hand instinctively reaching up to cup her face. Fu sighed into the kiss, her fingers twisting in the fabric of his shirt, holding him close asterisk. And Naruto. Naruto melted asterisk. By the time they finally broke apart, they were both breathing heavily, foreheads resting together. Fu let out a quiet laugh. Damn. That was. Asterisk. Yeah. Asterisk. Naruto agreed, his voice rough. Fu pulled back just enough to look at him. You better come back in one piece, Whiskers. Naruto smirked. What? Worried about me? Fu rolled her eyes. Obviously. Naruto hesitated for half a second. Then, with a smirk, he tugged her closer, pressing his lips to her forehead. I'll be back before you know it. Fu blinked, then grinned. You better be. And just like that, Naruto knew. No matter what happened on this mission, no matter how far he went, how long he was gone, he was coming back. Because now, he had something worth coming home to. The morning came too soon. Naruto stood at the village gates, adjusting the strap on his pack as the rest of his team gathered. The sky was still dark, the sun barely peeking over the horizon, and the streets were quiet. But even in the silence, he felt it. Her. Asterisk. He didn't have to turn around to know she was there. You didn't even say goodbye, asterisk, Fu muttered, stepping up beside him. Naruto smirked. Didn't think you liked goodbyes. Fu crossed her arms. I don't asterisk. She nudged his shoulder. But you still owe me one. Naruto sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. Asterisk tch. Fine. Fu raised an eyebrow. That's it. Fine. No heartfelt farewell. No dramatic speech. Oh, my bad, asterisk, Naruto said dryly, placing a hand over his chest. Fu, my dearest, light of my life, I shall miss you terribly in my time away. Without you, the world is, asterisk. Fu punched his arm. Dumbass. Naruto snickered, rubbing his arm. Hey, you asked for it. Fu huffed. I was being serious. Naruto's smirk softened. I know. A beat of silence passed. Then, suddenly, Fu moved. Before he could react, she pulled him into a tight hug, arms wrapped around his waist, her face buried in his shoulder. Naruto stiffened, then melted, wrapping his arms around her in return. Fu exhaled against him. Don't take too long, okay? Naruto closed his eyes, breathing her in. I won't. Fu squeezed him once, then pulled away, hands lingering for just a second before she stepped back. Good. Naruto smirked. Gonna miss me that much? Fu grinned. Obviously. Naruto chuckled. Same here. A whistle cut through the quiet. Naruto. Time to move. Naruto turned, giving a quick nod before looking back at Fu. I'll see you soon, asterisk, he promised. Fu grinned. Damn right you will. And with that, he turned, taking his first step beyond the gates. He didn't look back, because he didn't need to. He knew she'd be waiting. The mission lasted longer than expected. What was supposed to be a few weeks stretched into over a month. Naruto and his team faced ambushes, harsh terrain, and unexpected delays. More than once, he caught himself wondering what Fu was doing, if she was still teasing the hell out of him, if she was training, if she was waiting for him like she promised. And damn it, he missed her. More than he thought he would. So when the gates of Konoha finally came into view, exhaustion weighing on his shoulders, Naruto ran asterisk. He barely heard his teammates saying something behind him. He didn't care. The second his feet hit the main road, he was searching asterisk. And then, oi, Whiskers. Naruto's head snapped up just in time for a green and orange blur to slam into him, nearly knocking the breath from his lungs. Fu. Took you long enough. Fu huffed, her arms locked tightly around his neck. I was about to go hunt you down myself. Naruto let out a breathless laugh, his hands instinctively gripping her waist. Yeah, sorry to keep you waiting. Fu pulled back just enough to look at him, her orange eyes scanning his face. You good? Naruto smirked. Of course I am. Fu narrowed her eyes. Liar. Naruto sighed. Asterisk tch. Fine. I'm tired. Happy. Fu grinned. Very. Naruto snorted. You're impossible. And you love it. Naruto didn't answer. He didn't need to. Because before he could even think of a comeback, Fu kissed him. Right there, in the middle of the village, in front of everyone. Asterisk. It was quick, barely a brush of lips, but it was enough asterisk. By the time Fu pulled back, Naruto was staring at her, wide-eyed. What? Asterisk. Welcome home, Whiskers, asterisk, Fu murmured. Naruto swallowed, heat rushing to his face. Damn it, Fu. Fu smirked. Missed me. Naruto exhaled, running a hand through his hair before wrapping an arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. Yeah, I really did. Fu grinned, resting her head against him. Good. Because you're not getting rid of me. Naruto chuckled, squeezing her tighter. Wouldn't dream of it. The days that followed felt different. Not in a bad way, just different. Fu was still her usual self, teasing him, dragging him into ridiculous antics, stealing his food when he wasn't looking. But there was something else now. Something unspoken in the way she lingered just a little longer, in the way she touched him absent-mindedly, like she didn't even realize she was doing it. And Naruto, he was getting used to it. He caught himself waiting for her after training, his eyes searching for her whenever he walked through the village. He didn't even question it when she showed up at his apartment late at night, sprawled across his couch like she lived there. You know you have your own place, right? Naruto muttered, flopping down beside her. Yeah, but yours is warmer, asterisk, Fu said, resting her feet on his lap. And you don't kick me out. Naruto sighed, rubbing his temple. I really should start. Fu smirked. But you won't asterisk. Naruto huffed, but didn't argue. Because, yeah, he wouldn't. Asterisk. One evening, after another long day of training, they found themselves sitting by the Hokage monument, watching the sun set over the village. Hey, Whiskers, asterisk, Fu said suddenly, breaking the comfortable silence. Naruto hummed, glancing at her. Fu tilted her head, studying him. What do you want to do? Naruto frowned. What do you mean? Fu shrugged. I mean, after all this ninja stuff. What's your endgame? Naruto blinked. Become Hokage, obviously. Fu snorted. Of course. Should have guessed. Naruto smirked. What about you? Fu was quiet for a moment, then sighed, leaning back on her hands. I dunno. She exhaled, watching the sky darken. I used to think my goal was just surviving. You know, proving I was more than just a Jinchuriki. Naruto's expression softened. Yeah, I get that. Fu turned to look at him. But now, I think I just wanna be happy. Naruto stared at her for a long moment. Then, without thinking, he reached over, threading his fingers through hers. Fu blinked, surprised. Whiskers. Naruto squeezed her hand. Then let's make that happen. Fu's eyes widened. Then, slowly, she smiled. Not her usual mischievous smirk, something softer asterisk. Something real. Yeah, asterisk, she murmured, squeezing back. Let's. As the weeks passed, their relationship settled into something natural, something neither of them had to think too hard about. Fu would still tease him endlessly, still steal his food, still drag him into trouble. But now, there were moments in between. Moments where she'd lean against him when she thought no one was looking. Moments where he'd catch himself reaching for her hand without thinking. Moments where neither of them needed words because this, whatever this was, felt right. Asterisk. And then, one night, everything changed. Naruto was exhausted. Training had been brutal, and all he wanted to do was collapse into bed. But the second he stepped into his apartment, he knew something was off. Asterisk. Fu was there, sitting on his couch, her usual energy missing. She didn't even look up when he walked in. Fu, Naruto said, instantly on alert. She didn't answer right away. Then, they found me. Naruto's stomach dropped. What? Fu exhaled sharply, running a hand through her hair. Anbu from Takigakure. They were in the village today. I think they were looking for me. Naruto clenched his jaw. Did they do anything? No. Asterisk, Fu muttered. Tsunade-sama handled it. But, asterisk. She trailed off, her voice unsteady. Naruto moved before he even thought about it, dropping onto the couch beside her. Fu, asterisk, he said firmly, taking her hand. They can't touch you. You know that, right? Fu let out a humorless laugh. Yeah, and what if one day they decide they don't care about Konoha's rules? What if they, asterisk. Then I'll stop them, asterisk, Naruto interrupted, his voice fierce. Number one's taking you anywhere. Fu turned to look at him, her bright orange eyes searching his face. Naruto, asterisk. You belong here, Fu, asterisk, he said, gripping her hand tighter. And I swear, as long as I'm here, you're not going anywhere. Fu stared at him for a long moment. Then, without warning, she moved, crashing into him, arms wrapping around his neck. Naruto froze for half a second, then immediately pulled her closer, burying his face in her shoulder. Fu clung to him like he was the only thing keeping her grounded. I don't want to go back, asterisk, she whispered. I don't want to be alone again. Naruto closed his eyes, his grip tightening. You won't be. For a long time, they just stayed like that, wrapped up in each other, the room silent except for their steady breathing. Then, Naruto. Asterisk, can I stay here tonight? Naruto exhaled softly, pressing his forehead against hers. Yeah, of course. Fu smiled, small, but real. And as they lay there, tangled together, Naruto knew. He wasn't letting her go. Not now. Not ever. Asterisk. The night passed in quiet comfort. Naruto woke up to warmth. Fu was still curled against him, her head resting on his chest, her breath steady. At some point, she had grabbed onto his shirt, her fingers still loosely curled in the fabric, like she had been afraid he'd disappear in the middle of the night. Naruto didn't move, didn't want to move. Instead, he just lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft rhythm of her breathing, feeling the way she fit against him like she belonged there. And maybe she did. Maybe she always had. Fu stirred slightly, letting out a quiet hum. What time is it? Naruto glanced toward the window. Early. Too early. Good. Asterisk, Fu muttered, tightening her grip on his shirt and nuzzling against him. Not moving yet. Naruto huffed a small laugh, his fingers absent-mindedly brushing against her back. Didn't think you were the type to sleep in. Shish. Asterisk, Fu grumbled. You're ruining the moment. Naruto smirked, but didn't say anything else. For a while, they just stayed like that, wrapped up in the quiet. Then, Naruto. Fu shifted slightly, lifting her head to look at him. Did you mean it? What you said last night? Naruto frowned. What part? Fu hesitated, then whispered, that I belong here. Naruto stared at her. Then, slowly, he reached up, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Yeah, asterisk, he said, voice steady. I meant it. Fu's expression softened. Good. And then, to his complete and utter surprise, she kissed him. It was slow, lingering, nothing rushed, nothing teasing. Just them. Asterisk. Naruto's breath hitched, but he melted into it, his arms instinctively wrapping around her. When they finally pulled apart, Fu smirked. I could get used to this. Naruto chuckled, pressing his forehead against hers. Yeah, me too. Fu grinned, her fingers tracing absent patterns on his chest. So, what now? Naruto smirked. Now, I make breakfast. Because if you're gonna start crashing here all the time, I'm not letting you eat all my food. Fu gasped dramatically. Naruto, are you implying I don't contribute? I'm implying you steal from me. Fu snorted. Fair. But you love me anyway. Naruto paused. Then, with a smirk, He pulled her closer. Yeah, I do. Fu blinked, then grinned, pressing a quick kiss to his cheek before flopping back down beside him. Good. Because I'm not going anywhere. And for the first time in a long time, Naruto felt like he had something real. Something his. Asterisk. Days passed, then weeks. Fu never left. She still had her own place, but it became more of a formality. Every night, she ended up at Naruto's apartment, sprawled across his couch, stealing his food, or curled up against him in bed like it was the most natural thing in the world. And maybe it was. Naruto didn't question it. Didn't want to. Because every morning, when he woke up with her beside him, her messy green hair tickling his face, her warmth pressed against him, he felt at home asterisk. More than he ever had before. Naruto, are you even listening? Naruto blinked, snapping out of his thoughts. Huh. Fu huffed, poking his forehead. You totally zoned out. What's up with you? Naruto rubbed the back of his neck. Nothing. Just thinking. Fu smirked. Careful, Whiskers. Thinking too hard might hurt. Naruto rolled his eyes. Ha ha, very funny. Fu grinned, then leaned in closer. Asterisk Su, what were you thinking about? Naruto hesitated. Then, before he could second guess himself, he blurted out. You. Fu blinked. Huh. Naruto exhaled, rubbing his temple. Asterisk tch. I just. Asterisk damn it. Fu, you're in my head all the time. It's annoying. Fu tilted her head. Oh, so, what I'm hearing is, you can't stop thinking about me. Naruto scowled. That's not. Asterisk. Admit it, Whiskers. Asterisk. Fu teased, leaning even closer, her face inches from his. You're obsessed with me. Naruto groaned. I regret saying anything. Fu snickered. Too late. You love me. Naruto went silent. Fu's grin faltered. Asterisk. Naruto. He met her gaze, something unreadable in his expression. Yeah, asterisk, he said quietly. I do. Fu's breath hitched. Naruto sighed, looking away. Look, I know I don't say stuff like that a lot, but, asterisk. Fu launched herself at him. Whoa. Before he could react, she wrapped her arms around his neck, clinging to him like she never wanted to let go. Naruto hesitated, then hugged her back, burying his face in her shoulder. Took you long enough, asterisk, Fu murmured against his skin. Naruto smirked. Asterisk tch. You're one to talk. Fu laughed softly, pulling back just enough to look at him. Say it again. Naruto rolled his eyes, but his grip on her tightened. I love you, Fu. Fu's smile was blinding. I love you too, Whiskers. And when she kissed him this time, it wasn't teasing. It wasn't playful. It was real. And Naruto knew, without a doubt. He was never letting her go. Their days together became something Naruto never knew he needed. Fu was everywhere, in his apartment, at Ichiraku, waiting outside the training grounds just to mess with him. It wasn't even a question anymore whether she'd stay the night, she just did. Asterisk. And Naruto. He let her. No, he wanted her to. Because when he woke up to the sound of her soft breathing, when he found her stealing his last bowl of ramen with a smug grin, when she dragged him through the village just to goof around, he realized something. This was happiness. Not being Hokage. Not proving himself to the village. Not even surpassing his limits as a ninja. It was this. Asterisk. Her. So, Whiskers, asterisk, Fu said one evening, lying beside him on the roof of his apartment. Ever thought about the future? Naruto frowned, turning his head to look at her. What do you mean? Fu stretched, staring at the stars. I mean, what happens after you become Hokage? Naruto snorted. That's a long way off, Fu. Humor me, asterisk, Fu said, nudging him. Where do you see yourself? Naruto hesitated. For the longest time, his answer had always been Hokage asterisk. That was his dream, his goal. The thing that kept him going. But now, there was something else. Or rather, someone. Naruto exhaled, glancing at her. I guess, I see us. Fu blinked. Us. Naruto smirked. Yeah, you are sticking around, right? Fu stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she grinned. You bet I am. Naruto chuckled. Good. Fu rolled onto her side, propping herself up on her elbow. And if I decide I wanna be Hokage instead? Naruto scoffed. Asterisk PFF'd. You, Hokage. Hey. Fu smacked his arm. I could totally do it. Naruto laughed, catching her wrist before she could hit him again. Alright, you can be my assistant or something. Fu huffed, crossing her arms. Asterisk TCH. As if I'd settle for second place. Naruto smirked, pulling her closer. Fine. Then I'll just have to keep you too busy to run for Hokage. Fu raised an eyebrow. Oh, and how do you plan to do that, Whiskers? Naruto's smirk widened. You'll see. Fu rolled her eyes. You love being mysterious, don't you? Maybe. Fu snorted, then grinned, leaning in until her forehead touched his. Well, whatever happens, I'm not going anywhere. Naruto's expression softened. Yeah. Fu kissed him then, slow and lingering, her fingers threading through his hair. And Naruto knew, without hesitation. His future wasn't just about being Hokage anymore. It was her. Asterisk. Always her. Asterisk. Time passed, and nothing changed. Or maybe, everything did. Fu was still Fu, wild, energetic, unpredictable. But now, there were moments when she'd linger after a kiss, when she'd sneak her fingers into his just because, when she'd whisper his name in a way that made his heart stutter. Naruto never thought much about love. Never thought he'd have time for it. But with Fu, it wasn't something he needed to think about. It was there asterisk. Easy. Natural. Like breathing. And every day, he found himself falling harder. Alright, spill it. Naruto blinked, pulling his chopsticks away from his mouth. Huh. Fu smirked from across the ramen stand, eyes glinting mischievously. You've been looking at me weird all day. Naruto scowled. I always look at you weird. Not like this. Asterisk Fu leaned forward, resting her chin on her hands. So, what's up? Naruto hesitated. Then, after a moment, he sighed. I was thinking. Dangerous. Asterisk, Fu teased. Shut up. Asterisk, Naruto muttered, flicking a stray noodle at her. Asterisk we never really talk about what's next. Fu tilted her head. Next. Yeah. Asterisk Naruto rubbed the back of his neck. You said you weren't going anywhere. And I believe you. But, asterisk, he paused. I guess I wanna know what that means to you. Fu blinked. Then, to his surprise, she looked nervous asterisk. Oh. Naruto frowned. Fu. Fu chewed her lip, looking away. I guess I never really thought about it either. I mean, I knew I wanted to stay, but, asterisk, she exhaled. Number one's ever asked me what I wanted before. Naruto felt something in his chest tighten. He reached across the counter, taking her hand. Well, I'm asking now. Fu was quiet for a long moment. Then, I want you. Naruto's breath hitched. Fu squeezed his hand, her orange eyes steady. I don't care what happens, Naruto. Where we go, what we do, none of it matters. As long as I have you, that's enough for me. Naruto felt his throat tighten. Because, damn asterisk. No hesitation, no doubt, just her asterisk. Fu, asterisk. She smiled, squeezing his hand tighter. So, does that answer your question, Whiskers? Naruto let out a breathless chuckle, shaking his head. Yeah, it does. And in that moment, he knew. Fu wasn't just his future. She was everything asterisk. Naruto held Fu's hand a little tighter, as if grounding himself in the weight of her words. She had always been the one to speak her mind without hesitation, but hearing her say it, I want you, it did something to him. No one had ever said that to him before. Not like this. Not with that certainty, like it was the simplest truth in the world. He swallowed hard. Fu. Asterisk. She tilted her head, grinning. You gonna get all emotional on me, Whiskers? Naruto scowled, trying to fight back the heat crawling up his neck. Asterisk tch. You wish asterisk. Fu chuckled, then stood up, stretching her arms above her head. Well, you done with your food? Naruto sighed, shoving the last bit of ramen into his mouth before tossing his chopsticks onto the counter. Yeah, where to now? Fu grabbed his wrist and pulled asterisk. Come on, I wanna show you something. Naruto wasn't sure where they were going, but he let Fu drag him along anyway. The village was quieter at night, the lanterns casting warm pools of light across the streets. Fu walked ahead of him, her fingers still locked around his wrist, her energy buzzing asterisk. Naruto smiled. Even after all this time, she never ran out of energy. Eventually, they reached the outskirts of the village, stopping at the edge of a small lake. The water shimmered under the moonlight, rippling gently with the night breeze. Fu let go of his wrist and spun around, grinning. Pretty, right? Naruto raised an eyebrow. You dragged me all the way out here to look at some water. Fu rolled her eyes. It's not just water, dummy. It's my favorite spot. Naruto glanced around. Since when? Since always. Asterisk. Fu stepped toward the water's edge, her reflection staring back at her. I used to come here when I felt, I don't know. Lost. Naruto's expression softened. Fu. Asterisk. She turned back to him, her smile gentler this time. I don't come here alone anymore. Naruto felt his heart squeeze. Because he knew what she was saying. She wasn't lost anymore. And neither was he. Come here, asterisk, Fu said, motioning him closer. Naruto stepped up beside her, watching as she knelt down and dipped her fingers into the water. The ripples spread outward, distorting their reflections. You see that? Fu murmured. One touch, and everything changes. Nothing stays the same forever. Naruto stared at their reflections. Then, slowly, he reached out, intertwining his fingers with hers beneath the water. Some things do, asterisk, he said quietly. Some things stay. Fu's breath hitched. She turned to him, eyes wide. And then, in one swift movement, she tackled him into the grass, laughing. You sap. Naruto groaned. Damn it. Fu, asterisk. Admit it. Fu grinned, straddling his waist. You're totally in love with me. Naruto exhaled, letting his hands rest on her hips. Yeah, asterisk, he muttered. I am. Fu froze. Her teasing smirk faltered, her eyes flickering with something raw, something vulnerable. Then, before he could say anything else, she kissed him. Hard. It wasn't playful this time. It wasn't teasing. It was real asterisk. Naruto wrapped his arms around her, pulling her closer. Fu melted into him, her fingers tangled in his hair, her heartbeat hammering against his chest. And in that moment, under the moonlit sky, by the lake that once held her loneliness, there was only them asterisk. Fu rested her forehead against Naruto's, her breath warm against his skin. Neither of them moved. Neither of them wanted to. Naruto let his fingers trail up her back, feeling the steady rhythm of her heartbeat against his own. It was fast. Too fast, but then again, so was his. Asterisk. Fu. Asterisk. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Naruto swallowed, suddenly unsure of what he wanted to say. That he never wanted this moment to end. That she made everything, feel right. That for the first time in his life, he wasn't just chasing after something, he had it. Nothing. Asterisk, he murmured instead, brushing a strand of green hair from her face. Just stay like this a little longer. Fu chuckled softly, nudging his nose with hers. You're so sappy, Whiskers. Naruto smirked. You love it. Fu grinned. I do. And just like that, Naruto knew, there was no going back. She was his asterisk. The next morning, Naruto woke up to a weight on his chest. He cracked one eye open, groggily glancing down. Fu was curled against him, fast asleep, her face buried in the crook of his neck. One arm was draped across his torso, fingers curled slightly in the fabric of his shirt like she was holding on even in her sleep. Naruto stared at her for a moment, his heart doing something weird in his chest. Then, carefully, he tightened his hold on her, pressing his chin against the top of her head. Yeah, he could get used to this. Naruto, asterisk, Fu mumbled, shifting slightly. Naruto smirked. Dreaming about me, huh? Fu's eyes fluttered open, still heavy with sleep. Asterisk tch. More like nightmare. Asterisk, she muttered, burying her face deeper into his chest. Naruto chuckled. Liar. Fu huffed but didn't pull away. Shut up. Whiskers, too early for flirting, asterisk. You started it. Fu groaned. Go back to sleep. Naruto smirked, but he didn't argue. Because, honestly, he could stay like this forever. The sun climbed higher, casting golden light across the clearing, but neither of them moved. Naruto was content, more than content, to just lie there, feeling the steady rise and fall of Fu's breathing against him. She was warm, comfortable. His asterisk. Oi, asterisk, Naruto murmured after a while, running his fingers through her wild green hair. We should probably get up. 5 more minutes, asterisk, Fu muttered sleepily, tightening her hold on him. Naruto sighed, but he couldn't stop the small smile tugging at his lips. If I didn't know better, I'd think you actually liked using me as a pillow. Asterisk tch. Fu cracked one eye open, smirking. Like, please. I love it. Naruto huffed, rolling his eyes. Of course you do. Fu finally stretched, letting out a long yawn before sitting up, her hands resting against his chest for balance. Alright, fine, I guess we should, asterisk. She trailed off, blinking. Naruto tilted his head. What? Fu frowned. You're staring at me. Naruto smirked. Yeah, so what? Fu narrowed her eyes. You're doing it again. The weird staring thing. Naruto chuckled, sitting up so they were eye level. Maybe I just like looking at you. Fu blinked once, twice. Then, to his surprise, her cheeks flushed asterisk. Hey, asterisk, she stammered, crossing her arms. Cut it out, Whiskers. That's cheating. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Cheating. Yeah, asterisk Fu huffed, looking away. You can't just say things like that. It's unfair. Naruto smirked. Oh, is Fu the Fearless getting flustered? Asterisk tch. As if. Asterisk Fu scowled, but her face was still pink. Shut up, idiot. Naruto laughed, reaching out to flick her forehead. Alright, come on, let's get moving before someone finds us out here. Fu grumbled, but she let him pull her to her feet. And as they walked back toward the village, their hands naturally found each other again. Oi, Naruto. Naruto barely had time to register the voice before something slammed into him from behind, nearly sending him face first into the dirt. The hell? He turned his head, only to find Konohamaru grinning up at him. Oi, brat, what was that for? Where have you been? Konohamaru demanded. I looked everywhere for you. Naruto blinked. Asterisk. Konohamaru suddenly froze, his gaze shifting to Fu, who was watching with mild amusement. Then, slowly, he grinned asterisk. Asterisk ooh, asterisk, the younger boy wiggled his eyebrows. Now I get it. You were with her. Naruto scowled. Oi, don't make it weird, asterisk. Too late. Asterisk Konohamaru pointed dramatically. Naruto and Fu sitting in a tree, KIS, asterisk. Shut up. Asterisk Naruto lunged, but Konohamaru dodged, cackling as he ran off. Fu burst out laughing. I like him. Of course you do, Asterisk, Naruto muttered, dragging a hand down his face. Little punk. Asterisk. Fu smirked. So, we are dating now, right? Naruto blinked. Huh. Fu grinned. Well, you haven't actually said it, Whiskers. Gotta make it official, you know. Naruto hesitated. Then, slowly, he grinned back. Yeah. Asterisk he reached for her hand again, squeezing it. We are. Fu beamed. Good. And just like that, everything fell into place. The days passed, and life in Konoha carried on. But for Naruto, everything felt different now. He and Fu had always been close, partners, best friends, kindred spirits. But now she was something more. A part of him in a way no one else had ever been. They trained together, ate together, walked through the village hand in hand. And though people stared, though the whispers never truly faded, neither of them cared. Because for the first time in their lives, they weren't alone. Asterisk. You're spending a lot of time with her lately. Asterisk, Kakashi noted one afternoon, eyeing Naruto from behind his book. Naruto frowned. Yeah. Kakashi hummed. You're not slacking on your training, are you? Asterisk tch, as if. Asterisk Naruto crossed his arms. If anything, I'm training more. Asterisk. Fu keeps pushing me to get stronger. Kakashi chuckled. She does seem like the competitive type. Naruto grinned. Tell me about it. Kakashi's visible eye crinkled in amusement. You like her? Well, yeah, asterisk, Naruto muttered. I mean, obviously, asterisk. No, asterisk, Kakashi cut in, closing his book. You like her? Naruto blinked. Asterisk, I just said that. Kakashi sighed, shaking his head. Never mind. Just try not to let her distract you too much. Naruto scoffed. Asterisk PFF'd. As if. That night, as they sat on the Hokage monument, Fu leaned against Naruto's shoulder, staring up at the stars. Hey, Whiskers. Yeah. Fu hesitated. Do you ever think about the future? Naruto blinked. The future. Yeah. Asterisk Fu shifted slightly. Like, what comes next? Naruto was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then, slowly, he smiled. Yeah, I do. Fu turned her head, watching him. And Naruto reached for her hand, lacing their fingers together. You're in it. Fu's breath hitched. Then, before he could say anything else, she punched his arm. Damn it, Naruto, stop saying things like that. Naruto yelped, rubbing his shoulder. Oi, what was that for? For being a sap. Fu huffed, her face bright red asterisk. Naruto smirked. You love it. Fu groaned, burying her face in her hands. I do, asterisk, and that's the problem. Naruto laughed, pulling her closer. And under the night sky, with the village sprawled below them, they stayed like that, warm, together asterisk, and home asterisk. Days turned into weeks, and life settled into a rhythm, training, missions, late-night ramen runs, and stolen moments just for them. Naruto had never imagined he could be this happy. Fu was a whirlwind in his life, full of energy and mischief, and he loved every second of it. She pushed him to be stronger, laughed with him through every challenge, and stayed by his side even on the hardest days. And Naruto, he did the same for her. You're so slow, Whiskers. Fu teased, darting ahead of him through the trees. Asterisk tch, you wish. Asterisk Naruto called back, grinning as he caught up. They had been sparring for hours, pushing each other to the limit. Sweat clung to their skin, their breaths came in ragged gasps, but neither of them stopped. Asterisk. You giving up yet? Fu smirked, balancing effortlessly on a branch. Naruto wiped his forehead, grinning. Not a chance. Fu chuckled. Good answer. And then she pounced. Asterisk. Naruto barely had time to react before she tackled him to the ground, pinning him with a triumphant grin. Gotcha. Naruto groaned. Damn it. Fu, asterisk. Say it. Say what? Fu smirked. Say I'm the best. Naruto scowled. Like hell I will. Asterisk. Fu leaned down, her nose brushing against his. Say it, Whiskers. Naruto swallowed. Because damn asterisk. She was close asterisk. Fine, asterisk, he muttered. You're the best. Fu beamed. Damn right I am. And then, without warning, she kissed him asterisk. It was quick. Just a brush of lips. But it burned asterisk. Naruto blinked, dazed. What was? Asterisk. A reward, asterisk, Fu said, grinning. Maybe next time, you'll win and get one too. Naruto exhaled, watching as she hopped to her feet and sprinted away. He stared after her for a long moment, then muttered under his breath. Oh, it's on. Later that night, as they sat on the rooftop watching the village lights, Fu leaned into his side with a sigh. Hey, Naruto. Do you think we'll always have this? Naruto turned his head. Have what? Fu hesitated. Us. Naruto's chest tightened. Then, without a second thought, he reached over and laced their fingers together. Yeah, asterisk, he murmured. We will. Fu smiled. Good. And as the stars twinkled above them, they stayed like that, no words, no worries, just them asterisk. The nights in Konoha had never felt as peaceful as they did now. Maybe it was because Naruto wasn't alone anymore. Maybe it was because, for the first time in his life, he didn't have to wonder if someone would stay. Fu was here, warm and solid beside him, her fingers interlocked with his. Hey, Whiskers, asterisk, Fu murmured after a while, breaking the comfortable silence. What do you wanna do in the future? Naruto blinked, glancing at her. The future. Yeah, asterisk Fu turned her head, watching him. I mean, you will be Hokage someday. But what about after that? Naruto scratched the back of his head. Honestly, I never really thought about it. Fu hummed. What if I asked you to? Naruto sighed, tilting his head back. The future, huh? He had always been so focused on just getting there that he had never really considered what it would look like. But now, when he thought about the future, it wasn't just about him anymore. It was them asterisk. I guess, asterisk, Naruto started slowly, squeezing her hand, I wanna make sure you're in it. Fu's breath hitched. Then, before he could say anything else, she punched him in the arm. Damn it, Naruto, stop doing that. Ow. What the hell, Fu? You keep saying things that make my heart do stupid things, and it's annoying asterisk. Asterisk Fu huffed, crossing her arms. Naruto smirked, rubbing his arm. You love it. Fu scowled, looking away. Shut up. Naruto chuckled, shifting so he could wrap an arm around her shoulders. You know, you never answered your own question. Fu blinked, glancing up at him. Huh. What you wanna do in the future, asterisk, Naruto clarified. You asked me, but you never said what you want. Fu was quiet for a moment. Then, softly, she said, I just wanna be free. Naruto frowned. Free. Fu nodded, staring up at the sky. I spent most of my life trapped in Takigakure. Always being watched. Always being treated like I was something instead of a person. I don't ever wanna feel that way again. Naruto felt something tighten in his chest. He had known, of course, that Fu had been mistreated. That her village had never truly accepted her. But hearing her say it like this. He exhaled slowly, then tightened his hold on her. Then we'll make it happen. Fu blinked. Huh. Naruto smiled, his grip firm. We'll be free. Both of us. No more being treated like monsters. No more being used by people who don't give a damn about us. Just us, doing what we want. Together. Fu stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she grinned. Together, huh? Yeah. Fu chuckled. You're really all in on this, huh? Naruto smirked. You're stuck with me now, Fu. Better get used to it. Fu rolled her eyes, but her grip on his hand tightened asterisk. Asterisk TCH. Idiot. But she was smiling asterisk. And that was all Naruto needed. The days passed in a blur of training, missions, and quiet moments just for them. Naruto found himself growing more attached to Fu with every passing day, and if the way she clung to him was any sign, she felt the same. They had carved out a place for themselves in Konoha, and even though some villagers still looked at them with wary eyes, Naruto didn't care. He had Fu, and she had him. That was enough. One afternoon, as Naruto and Fu walked through the village, hand in hand, a familiar voice called out. Oi, Naruto. Naruto turned his head, blinking as he spotted Shikamaru approaching with his usual lazy stride. Yo, Shikamaru, what's up? Shikamaru raised an eyebrow, glancing at their joined hands before smirking. Nothing much. Just, didn't expect to see you this cozy with someone. Fu grinned. Jealous. Shikamaru scoffed. Asterisk TCH. Too much work. Naruto snorted. Figures. Shikamaru shoved his hands into his pockets. Anyway, just wanted to give you a heads up. Tsunade-sama wants to see you later. Something about an important mission. Naruto frowned. A mission? Yeah, sounds serious. Fu glanced at Naruto. You think it's about Akatsuki? Naruto sighed. Maybe. Guess we'll find out soon enough. Shikamaru nodded before giving a small wave. See ya around, Naruto. And you too, Fu. As he walked away, Fu turned to Naruto with a small frown. You okay? Naruto hesitated. Yeah, I dunno. Something feels off. Fu hummed. Want me to come with you? Naruto smiled. Of course. Fu smirked. Good answer. Later that evening, standing in Tsunade's office, Naruto couldn't shake the uneasy feeling in his gut. Naruto, Tsunade started, her expression serious. We've received intelligence that Akatsuki is making moves again. Specifically, they've been spotted near Takigakure. Naruto stiffened. Fu's grip on his arm tightened Takigakure, she murmured. Tsunade nodded. Your mission is to investigate. We need to know what they're after. Naruto exhaled slowly. Alright, when do we leave? At dawn. Fu stepped forward. I'm coming with him. Tsunade studied her for a moment before nodding. I figured you'd say that. Just be careful. Naruto and Fu exchanged a glance. They knew what this meant. Akatsuki wasn't just a threat to them, they were a threat to everything And now, they were heading straight into the heart of it. But as Naruto took Fu's hand in his, he felt nothing but certainty. They would face it together The night before their departure, Naruto and Fu sat together on the Hokage monument, watching the village lights flicker below. The weight of the mission loomed over them, but neither spoke about it. Instead, Fu leaned against his shoulder, sighing. I haven't been back to Takigakure since I left. Naruto glanced at her. Are you okay with going back? Fu was quiet for a moment before shaking her head. Not really. But I have to. Naruto squeezed her hand. You don't have to do anything alone anymore, Fu. Fu smiled softly. I know. They stayed like that for a while, wrapped in silence. Then, suddenly, Fu spoke again. Hey, Naruto. Yeah. Promise me something. Naruto turned to her. Anything. Fu bit her lip before meeting his gaze. No matter what happens, we come back together Okay. Naruto didn't hesitate. I promise. Fu exhaled, then, as if on impulse, leaned in and kissed him. It was soft, fleeting, but real When she pulled back, her face was flushed. That's your reward for being my partner. Naruto grinned, heart hammering. If this is my reward, I'll make sure to keep earning more. Fu groaned. You're such a sap. Naruto chuckled, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. Yeah, but you love it. Fu huffed. Shut up and hold me, Whiskers. Naruto smiled, tightening his hold. Tomorrow, They would face whatever dangers awaited them. But tonight, they were home asterisk. Morning came too soon. Naruto and Fu stood at the village gates, packs secured, ready to move out. Team Yamato was assigned as backup, with Sai and Sakura accompanying them. You two ready? Yamato asked, adjusting his gear. Naruto and Fu exchanged a glance before nodding. Yeah. Then let's move. As they took off into the trees, Naruto glanced at Fu, his resolve hardening. No matter what waited for them in Takigakure, no matter what Akatsuki had planned, he would keep his promise. They would come back together asterisk. The journey to Takigakure was mostly silent, each of them lost in their own thoughts. Naruto and Fu traveled side by side, their hands occasionally brushing, a silent reminder that they were in this together. As they neared the village, Fu's pace slowed. Naruto noticed immediately. You okay? He asked quietly. Fu exhaled, eyes locked on the hidden waterfall in the distance, the entrance to the place she once called home. I don't know what's worse, facing the people who abandoned me or finding out that Akatsuki is after something else in my village. Naruto gently took her hand. You're not alone, Fu. Whatever happens, we deal with it together asterisk. Fu squeezed his hand in return. I know. That's the only reason I'm still walking forward. They approached the waterfall, where two Takigakure shinobi stood guard. The moment their eyes landed on Fu, their expressions darkened. You, asterisk, one of them started, gripping his kunai. What are you doing back here? Fu's jaw clenched. We're here on a mission, asterisk, she said coldly. Tsunade-sama sent us. The guards hesitated, then shifted their gaze to Yamato. He stepped forward. We need to speak with your leader immediately. Akatsuki has been sighted in the area. The guards exchanged glances before reluctantly stepping aside. Follow us. Fu didn't move right away. Naruto could see the tension in her shoulders, the way her fingers twitched. He leaned in slightly. Want me to punch one of them? Might make you feel better. Fu snorted. Tempting, but let's not cause an international incident just yet. Naruto grinned. Yet. Fu shook her head, but a small smile played on her lips as they followed the guards into the village. The leader of Takigakure, Shibuki, was waiting for them inside the main building. He looked older than Fu remembered, but his expression softened when he saw her. Fu, asterisk. Spare me the sentimentality, Shibuki, asterisk, Fu interrupted, crossing her arms. We're here because Akatsuki is after something in your village. What do you know? Shibuki sighed. We've had reports of masked figures near the outskirts. We suspect they're after one of our sacred relics, a sealing artifact left behind by our ancestors. Yamato frowned. If it's a sealing artifact, then it's likely Akatsuki wants to use it to suppress or extract tailed beasts. Naruto's stomach dropped, meaning they could be after Fu. Fu's eyes darkened. They're always after me. Shibuki hesitated. Asterisk. I never wanted things to turn out this way, Fu. Fu scoffed. You let them turn out this way. Naruto could feel the anger rolling off her in waves. He stepped closer, a silent presence at her side. She didn't need to fight this battle alone. Shibuki sighed. Regardless of the past, we need to stop Akatsuki before they reach the relic. Fu took a deep breath. Then let's stop them. Night fell over Takigakure. Naruto and Fu stood on the rooftops, scanning the horizon for any sign of Akatsuki. How are you holding up? Naruto asked, his voice softer now that they were alone. Fu exhaled. I hate being here, but it's different with you. Naruto smiled. We'll deal with this and get out of here. And when we do, I'll take you anywhere you wanna go. Fu glanced at him, something warm in her eyes. Anywhere. Anywhere. Before she could respond, a flare of chakra erupted in the distance. Naruto's expression hardened. Looks like they're here. Fu's grip tightened on her kunai. Then let's go make them regret it. Together, they vanished into the night, ready to face whatever came next. The moment Naruto and Fu arrived at the outskirts of Takigakure, they could feel the sinister presence ahead. The air was heavy with malice, and the oppressive chakra of the Akatsuki agents filled the area. Perched atop a large stone pillar stood two figures. The first, a tall, lean man with slick black hair, a stitched grin stretched across his pale face. The second, a shorter, masked figure with dark robes, their identity obscured. Well, the grinning man drawled, his eyes locking onto Fu. Looks like the little Jinchuriki decided to come right to us. That saves us the trouble of hunting you down. Fu scowled. Who are you supposed to be? The man tilted his head, as if considering his response. Kakuzu sends his regards, he finally said. He was quite irritated when you escaped Takigakure. And now we're here to correct that mistake. Naruto stepped forward, his hands curling into fists. You're not taking her anywhere. The masked figure finally spoke, their voice distorted. We're not here for negotiations. Hand over the 7 tails, or we'll take her by force. Like hell you will. Naruto snarled, chakra flaring around him. Fu's wings burst from her back as she took a battle stance. I'm not the scared little girl I used to be. If you think I'm going quietly, you're dead wrong. Yamato and the others arrived just as the Akatsuki members leapt from their perch, the battle beginning in an instant. Naruto barely had time to react before the grinning man launched dozens of razor-sharp wires from his fingertips, aiming straight for him and Fu. Let's see how long you two can dance. Naruto grabbed Fu and propelled them both backward, dodging the deadly attack. TCH, these guys don't waste time. Fu shot into the air, avoiding another volley of wires, then retaliated with a barrage of compressed chakra bullets. The masked figure weaved through them effortlessly before forming a set of hand seals. Water style. Abyssal flood. A massive torrent of water erupted from the ground, surging toward Naruto and Fu like a tidal wave. I got this. Fu dove down, summoning the chakra of the 7 tails. Her wings glowed with an ethereal green light before she released a powerful gust of wind, splitting the water attack in half. Naruto smirked. Nice one, Fu. Fu grinned. You too, Whiskers. Now let's wipe the floor with these bastards. Naruto nodded, summoning a Rasengan into his palm before charging forward. The battle was far from over, but with Fu at his side, he knew one thing for sure, they would win. The battlefield was a chaotic blur of water, wind, and raw chakra clashing with deadly precision. Naruto dodged a swipe from the masked Akatsuki member, his Rasengan fizzling as he was forced to retreat. Fu was in the air, weaving between attacks, her wings glowing with chakra as she launched another barrage of wind bullets. Persistent, the grinning man mused as he sent his wires lashing toward her. But all Jinchuriki fall in the end. Fu spun midair, narrowly avoiding the attack, but the masked figure capitalized on the opening. Water style. Binding serpent. A jet of water twisted into the shape of a snake and shot toward Fu, wrapping around her legs in an instant. Before she could break free, the grinning man's wires coiled around her arms, yanking her downward. Fu! Naruto roared, surging forward with a Rasenshuriken in hand. The masked Akatsuki member reacted immediately. Water style. Torrential wall. A spiraling column of water burst from the ground, intercepting Naruto. He was forced to leap back as the water twisted violently, forcing him away from Fu. Fu gritted her teeth. Like I'd let you keep me trapped. Her chakra flared wildly, the teal glow of the 7 tails power enveloping her. The bindings shattered as she erupted from their grasp, flipping midair before diving toward the masked Akatsuki, her fist cocked back. Take this. Her punch landed hard, sending the enemy skidding backward across the rocky terrain. Naruto grinned. Hell yeah, Fu. Pay attention, brat. Naruto barely had time to react before the grinning man's wires came at him again, but this time he wasn't alone. Wood style. Strangling roots. Yamato's technique surged forward, thick roots intercepting the wires and wrapping around the enemy's limbs. Took you long enough, Captain. Naruto smirked. Had to wait for the right moment. Yamato responded, his eyes locked onto their opponents. Sakura rushed to Naruto's side, her fists clenched. We need to take them down now before they regroup. Fu landed next to Naruto, her wings twitching. Then let's finish this. Naruto nodded. Fu, back me up. She smirked. Always. Naruto slammed his hands together. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Dozens of clones appeared, immediately rushing the grinning man. At the same time, Fu launched herself back into the air, her wings buzzing as she prepared her strongest technique. Seven Tails Secret Art, asterisk. Naruto grinned, gathering a Rasenshuriken in his hand. Let's end this, Fu. The grinning man's expression finally shifted, from amusement to panic asterisk. Shit. Take this. Fu dove, her entire form coated in a shimmering aura of chakra, while Naruto hurled his Rasenshuriken forward. The two attacks combined into a devastating storm of wind and chakra, roaring toward their enemy with unstoppable force. The explosion that followed rocked the battlefield. As the dust settled, Naruto and Fu stood side by side, breathing heavily. The Akatsuki members were nowhere to be seen, their bodies buried under the debris. Did we win? Sakura panted. Naruto glanced at Fu. She met his gaze, a small grin forming. We won. Naruto let out a breath of relief before throwing an arm around Fu's shoulders. Told you we'd come back together. Fu rolled her eyes but leaned into him. You're such a sap, Whiskers. Naruto chuckled. And you love it. Fu just smiled, squeezing his hand. Yeah, I do. The battle was over, but their journey together was just beginning. The aftermath of the battle left the outskirts of Takigakure in ruins, the ground scorched and littered with debris from their devastating clash. Despite their victory, Naruto couldn't shake the unease in his gut. Akatsuki agents weren't this easy to take down. Yamato surveyed the battlefield with a sharp gaze. Stay alert. We need to confirm their status before we assume anything. Fu nodded, flexing her fingers. They might be buried, but I doubt they're dead. Sakura moved cautiously through the wreckage, her fists clenched. That masked one barely spoke. Something about them felt off asterisk. Before anyone could respond, the debris shifted asterisk. A dark tendril of water slithered out from beneath the rubble, moving unnaturally. Asterisk TCH, I knew it. Naruto growled, immediately forming a Rasengan. A deep chuckle echoed through the battlefield as the grinning man's voice returned, raspy but still laced with amusement. You Jinchuriki always put up such a fight. That's what makes this fun. From beneath the shattered earth, a figure emerged. No, two figures. The grinning man's face was bloodied, but his expression remained unsettlingly smug. Beside him, the masked Akatsuki member stood unharmed, though their robes were torn and damp from the water jutsu they had used to shield themselves. Persistent, asterisk, Fu muttered. I hate persistent enemies. Right, Naruto scoffed. They just don't know when to quit. The masked figure finally spoke, their voice colder this time. You have proved interesting. But this game is over. In an instant, the masked figure made a single hand sign. The ground beneath them rippled, as if it had turned to liquid. Something's wrong, asterisk, Yamato warned. They're trying to, asterisk. Before he could finish, the masked Akatsuki member vanished, their body swallowed into the shifting earth. They escaped. Sakura clenched her fists. Fu scowled. Coward. The grinning man clicked his tongue. Asterisk TCH. Well, I suppose our time is up. I would have liked to play a little longer, but orders are orders. Naruto's eyes narrowed. What the hell does that mean? The man grinned wider. You'll find out soon enough. Then, His body collapsed into a mass of writhing black threads, dissolving into the ground. Within seconds, he was gone. A heavy silence followed. Naruto exhaled sharply, dispelling his Rasengan. Damn it. Fu landed beside him, shaking her head. They weren't here for an all-out fight. They were testing us. Yamato crossed his arms. More than that, they left intentionally. That means they got what they came for. Naruto stiffened. The relic. Shibuki arrived moments later, his face pale. The artifact is gone asterisk. Naruto clenched his fists. Damn it. Fu's wings drooped slightly. They played us. Shibuki's expression darkened. If Akatsuki truly has the relic, then something worse is coming. Naruto took a deep breath, forcing himself to focus. Then we'll stop them before they use it. Fu stepped closer to him, her green eyes burning with determination. Together. Naruto looked at her, and despite everything, he smiled. Always. They had lost this battle. But the war wasn't over. The journey back to Konoha was tense. Naruto, Fu, Yamato, and Sakura moved quickly, the weight of their failure pressing down on them. The relic, whatever it was now in Akatsuki's hands. And they still had no idea what it did. Fu walked beside Naruto, her wings tucked away but her expression tight. I should have seen it coming, asterisk, she muttered. They were never after me. They were after that damn artifact. Naruto shook his head. Don't do that. We all thought they wanted a Jinchuriki. Fu let out a sharp breath. And now they have something even worse. We don't even know what that thing does. Yamato glanced back at them. That's why we need to get back to Tsunade-sama. She might have information. Sakura nodded. If it's something Akatsuki wants, then it's a threat to every village. Fu remained silent for a moment before nudging Naruto. You still think we'll stop them? Naruto grinned, despite the situation. Of course. I don't lose. Fu snorted. You just lost. Details. Asterisk, Naruto said with a shrug. The next time we see them, it's gonna be our win. Fu stared at him, then shook her head with a small smile. You really are something else, Whiskers. Naruto winked. And you love it. Fu rolled her eyes but didn't deny it. When they arrived in Konoha, the mood was grim. Tsunade listened carefully as Yamato reported everything, her expression darkening with every word. The artifact they stole, asterisk, she finally said, fingers steepled together. It's called the Binding Seal of the Ancients. Naruto frowned. That sounds bad. It is, asterisk, Tsunade confirmed. It's an old relic from the Warring States era. It was used to subjugate chakra creatures, beasts, spirits, even Jinchuriki. If Akatsuki figures out how to use it, they could suppress a tailed beast's will entirely. Fu stiffened. So they were after Jinchuriki. Just not in the way we thought. Naruto clenched his fists. They're planning to use it against us. Tsunade nodded. And we need to stop them before they do. Silence fell over the room. The stakes had risen once again. Finally, Fu looked at Naruto, her gaze unwavering. Then let's go hunting, Whiskers. Naruto grinned, determination burning in his eyes. Hell yeah. The real fight was only just beginning. Preparations for the mission began immediately. Tsunade wasted no time, summoning Jiraiya, Kakashi, and Shikamaru to help strategize their next move. Naruto and Fu stood side by side as the meeting unfolded, both restless, both ready to take the fight to Akatsuki. Our first problem is location, asterisk, Shikamaru said, arms crossed. Akatsuki moves in secrecy, and even Jiraiya-sama's network hasn't pinpointed their stronghold yet. They won't be hiding for long, asterisk, Jiraiya muttered. Not if they plan to use that artifact. They'll need Jinchuriki as test subjects. Fu's jaw clenched. Then they'll come for me. Or Naruto. Tsunade sighed. Which is why you two aren't leaving the village alone. Akatsuki will strike again. Naruto scowled. So what? We just wait for them to show up. Kakashi spoke up. Not quite. We prepare. Asterisk he looked at Naruto and Fu. If they have a tool that can suppress Jinchuriki, we need to counter it. And that means pushing your control over your tailed beasts beyond what Akatsuki expects. Fu frowned. Beyond. Jiraiya smirked. It's time for both of you to take the next step in mastering your Biju. Naruto and Fu exchanged glances. Naruto grinned. Then what are we waiting for? Let's start training. Fu smirked. Hope you can keep up, Whiskers. Naruto laughed. You wish. The training began the next morning. Naruto and Fu were taken to a secluded area outside the village, where Jiraiya and Kakashi oversaw their progress. The key to countering Akatsuki's artifact is absolute synergy with your tailed beast, asterisk, Jiraiya explained. Right now, you both can use some of their power, but there's a higher level you haven't reached yet. Full synchronization, asterisk, Kakashi added. Instead of borrowing their chakra, you move as one. Your minds, your energy, completely united. Fu's wings twitched. That sounds hard. Oh, it will be, asterisk, Jiraiya said with a grin. But if you master it, not even Akatsuki's seal will be able to suppress you. Naruto cracked his knuckles. Alright, Kurama, ready to get serious. Inside his mindscape, the Nine Tails let out a low growl. Asterisk HMPH. As if you've ever been serious before. Naruto smirked. Then I guess it's time to surprise you. Fu grinned, her own chakra beginning to glow. Let's do this. And so, the real training began. Days turned into weeks. The training was brutal. Naruto and Fu struggled to break through their limits. The process of merging their consciousness with their tailed beasts was exhausting, mentally and physically. But they refused to stop. Naruto pushed his connection with Kurama further than ever before, learning to let the fox's instincts guide his movements. Fu embraced her bond with Chome, her speed and chakra control reaching entirely new heights. Slowly but surely, they improved. One night, after a particularly grueling session, Naruto and Fu sat by a small stream, catching their breath. You ever think about what happens after this? Fu asked suddenly. Naruto glanced at her. After what? After Akatsuki. After this war. Asterisk Fu looked up at the stars. Where do we go? Naruto was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. Anywhere we want. Fu turned to him, searching his face. You really believe that? Naruto nodded. Yeah, and you know what? I think wherever we go together. Fu's eyes widened slightly, but then she smiled. You're such a sap, Whiskers. Naruto chuckled. And you love it. Fu laughed softly, leaning against him. Yeah, I do. The war wasn't over. Their fight with Akatsuki was far from finished. But in that moment, under the stars, they weren't just Jinchuriki. They were together asterisk. And that was enough. The days blended together in a whirlwind of relentless training. Every dawn brought new challenges, sparring with Kakashi, chakra control exercises under Jiraiya, and intense meditation to deepen their bond with their Biju. For Naruto, the process was frustrating. Kurama wasn't exactly helpful asterisk. The fox was stubborn, unwilling to fully merge unless Naruto proved himself. You want true synchronization? Kurama rumbled one evening. Then show me you're worthy of my full power. Naruto wiped sweat from his brow. Asterisk TCH. And how do I do that? Simple. Asterisk. Kurama's eyes gleamed. Survive. Naruto barely had a moment to react before his mindscape shifted asterisk. The calm surroundings of the sewer-like chamber were gone. Instead, he stood in an endless wasteland, with Kurama towering before him, eyes burning with challenge. Fight me, Naruto Uzumaki. And win. Meanwhile, Fu faced her own trial. Chome was gentler than Kurama, but no less demanding. You're fast, Fu, but speed isn't everything. Says the fastest Biju, asterisk, Fu muttered, dodging a blast of chakra. Fast doesn't mean unbeatable, asterisk, Chome corrected. You rely too much on your wings. If you want to master my full power, you need to fight beyond just flying. Fu grit her teeth. Then let's do this. Both Jinchuriki pushed themselves to the brink, clawing towards something greater. Weeks passed. Then, one night, everything changed. Naruto and Fu had just finished another exhausting day of training when a messenger hawk arrived. A single scroll, a single message, and the world stopped. They've found Akatsuki's hideout. Tsunade's orders were clear. Assemble. Prepare. Move out at dawn. This was it. The moment they had been waiting for. Fu exhaled slowly, clenching her fists. We're really doing this. Naruto turned to her, eyes burning with determination. Yeah, and this time, we win. Fu smirked. Damn right we do. Tomorrow, they would face Akatsuki. Tomorrow, they would decide their fate. The tension in Konoha was palpable as dawn approached. The assembled strike team stood ready at the village gates: Naruto, Fu, Kakashi, Jiraiya, Yamato, Shikamaru, and a handful of elite Anbu. This wasn't just a mission. It was war. Tsunade stood before them, arms crossed. Akatsuki won't go down easily. Expect the worst. We always do. Naruto muttered, adjusting his headband. Fu tightened the straps on her arm guards. So what's the plan? Shikamaru stepped forward, rolling out a map. Their hideout is located in a mountainous region near the border of the land of Earth. It's well fortified, and they likely have traps set up. Number doubt, Kakashi added. And if they've already activated the binding seal, we need to be prepared for an ambush. Fu's wings twitched. Then we hit hard and fast before they can use it. Exactly. Jiraiya smirked. Number room for hesitation. We take them out. Naruto cracked his knuckles. Good. I've been waiting for payback. Tsunade stepped forward. Be careful. If things go wrong, you retreat. Understood. Everyone nodded. Then move out. The journey to Akatsuki's hideout was swift. They traveled under the cover of night, weaving through dense forests and rocky terrain. By the time they reached the base of the mountain, the sun had barely begun to rise. This is it, Kakashi whispered. Stay sharp. The entrance to the hideout was hidden beneath an outcropping of stone. Jiraiya pressed a hand to the ground, using his detection jutsu. His eyes narrowed. There are chakra signatures inside, he muttered. And, something big. The artifact, Yamato guessed. They've already activated it. Then we shut it down, Naruto growled. Shikamaru gestured for the group to split up. We take a three-pronged approach. Jiraiya-sama, Kakashi, and I will infiltrate from the side. Naruto, Fu, you're the front line. Yamato and the Anbu will provide backup. Sounds good to me, Fu said. Naruto, you ready? Naruto grinned. Always. With that, they moved in. The hideout was eerily silent as Naruto and Fu entered through the front tunnel. Too silent. Naruto narrowed his eyes. They're waiting for us. Then let's not keep them waiting, Fu shot back. They stepped into the dimly lit chamber. And the trap sprang. The walls shuddered. Seals along the stone glowed as the air itself crackled with power. Then came the voices. Welcome, Jinchuriki. From the shadows, the Akatsuki stepped forward. Hidan, grinning madly. Kakuzu, eyes cold and calculating. And in the center, holding the binding seal, stood none other than Pain. You should not have come, Pain intoned, his Rinnegan glowing. But since you have, your fates are sealed. The battle for survival had begun. Pain lifted a hand, and the air itself shook. A gravitational force slammed into Naruto and Fu, sending them skidding back. The sheer pressure made it hard to breathe. Damn it! Naruto gritted his teeth, bracing himself as he dug his fingers into the stone floor to keep from being thrown completely. Fu flared her chakra, her wings bursting from her back as she hovered just above the ground. So this is the leader of Akatsuki. Her eyes narrowed as she took in Pain's cold, unreadable expression. Doesn't look like much. Looks can be deceiving, asterisk, Kakuzu rumbled, stepping forward. And you too. You're just business. Hidan cackled. Yeah, let's get this over with already. I've been dying to spill some Jinchuriki blood. Pain ignored them. His focus remained solely on Naruto. You should not have come, asterisk, he repeated. But perhaps it is fate. I will show you true pain. Naruto spat to the side. I've had enough of your pawn talk. You want a fight? Fine. We're not holding back. Fu smirked. Hell yeah. With a burst of chakra, the battle exploded into motion. Naruto rushed forward first, channeling Kurama's chakra as he threw a Rasengan at Pain's chest. But before it could land, Pain raised his hand. Shinra Tensei. A massive repulsive force slammed into Naruto, sending him hurtling backward. He flipped midair, landing on his feet just as Fu streaked past him like a green blur, wings buzzing. Try blocking this. Asterisk she unleashed a barrage of kunai coated in Chomei's chakra, aiming straight for Pain's blind spots. But before the weapons could hit, another figure appeared, Konan. Paper wings flared from her back as she intercepted the attack, her body dissolving into a swarm of razor-sharp paper shuriken. You will not harm Pain, asterisk, she said calmly. Fu's eyes widened. What the? Asterisk. Konan's paper whipped toward her like a hurricane. Fu barely managed to dodge, twisting in midair, but a few slices still grazed her arms. Asterisk TCH. Focus. Asterisk Naruto shouted, already forming another Rasengan. But before he could charge, Kakuzu's massive, stitched-up hands shot toward him, black tendrils writhing. You're mine, brat. Naruto cursed and leapt back just as the tendrils smashed into the ground where he'd stood. They're splitting us up. Number kidding. Asterisk Fu growled as she dodged another wave of Konan's attacks. Hidan grinned, licking his scythe. Ooh, this is gonna be fun. Meanwhile, outside the hideout, the rest of the Konoha team was making their move. Jiraiya, Kakashi, and Shikamaru had breached the side entrance, taking out a few stray Zetsu clones in their path. They're already engaged, asterisk, Kakashi murmured, his Sharingan active. We need to move fast. Jiraiya nodded. Pain is the real threat here. If we don't take him out quickly, this battle could turn in their favor. Shikamaru exhaled. Troublesome. But we knew this wasn't going to be easy. They pressed forward, unaware that another figure was watching them from the shadows. Madara Uchiha smirked beneath his mask. Let's see how long they last. Back inside, Naruto clenched his fists as he glared at Pain. Enough of this. Asterisk his chakra exploded outward, the air rippling as Kurama's power surged through him. His eyes burned red, his nails sharpened, and the ground beneath him cracked. Fu landed beside him, her own chakra glowing green as she grinned. Time to show them what we're made of, whiskers. Naruto smirked. Let's do this, together. And with that, they charged. Naruto and Fu launched forward, their chakra flaring violently as they attacked in perfect sync. Naruto moved first, a Rasengan forming in his palm as he closed in on Pain. The Diva Path lifted his hand, Shinra Tensei. But Naruto was ready. Instead of taking the hit head-on, he planted his feet and pushed Kurama's chakra outward, using the force to redirect himself midair. He twisted around the blast, vanishing in a blur of speed. Fu took advantage of the opening. Now. She appeared above Pain, her wings buzzing as she rained down chakra-infused kunai. The moment the Diva Path used Shinra Tensei, it had a cooldown period, this was their chance asterisk. Naruto reappeared behind Pain in a flash, his Rasengan screaming with power. Got you. But before the attack could connect, another figure intercepted. The Preta Path. It caught Naruto's Rasengan with a single hand, and in an instant, the chakra sphere vanished. TCH. Naruto barely had time to react before the Preta Path swung a kick at him. He dodged, flipping back, but now Pain had regrouped. Damn it! Fu muttered as she landed beside him. They're covering for each other. Number kidding, Naruto growled. Then we break through. But before they could attack again, a new threat emerged. The ground beneath them erupted. From the shadows, a monstrous form shot upward, a massive, black masked tendril belonging to Kakuzu. You brats forgot about me, Kakuzu rumbled, his stitched up body shifting grotesquely. Big mistake. Move. Naruto and Fu barely dodged as four elemental masks detached from Kakuzu's back, hovering in the air. Fire, wind, lightning, and earth, each one brimming with deadly chakra. This just keeps getting better, Fu muttered. Number choice, we go all out. Naruto's chakra exploded. The air shimmered with raw power as Kurama's influence surged through him. The red chakra cloak burned around his body, tails forming behind him. Fu grinned as she followed suit, her own chakra flaring into a green, insectoid aura. Let's tear them apart. Meanwhile, deep within the hideout, Madara watched through his Sharingan, hidden within the Kamui dimension. So, the Jinchuriki have improved. His gaze lingered on Naruto, then shifted to Fu. This might be interesting after all. And with that, he vanished into the void. The real battle was only just beginning. Naruto didn't waste another second. With Kurama's chakra surging, he vanished in a blur of speed, reappearing directly in front of Kakuzu's fire mask. His clawed hand slammed forward, crushing it before it could release its attack. One down. But Kakuzu was already countering. His lightning mask fired a bolt of energy at point-blank range, too fast to dodge. Naruto. Fu shot forward, her wings buzzing as she shoved him aside, taking the hit herself. The electricity coursed through her body, muscles locking up as pain jolted through her nerves. But she gritted her teeth, refusing to fall. That all you got, old man? She smirked, even as smoke rose from her scorched skin. TCH. Annoying brat. Kakuzu muttered, his stitched body twisting unnaturally as he sent his earth mask forward to finish her off. Before it could strike, Naruto was there. His fist, coated in Kurama's chakra, tore through the mask like paper. You okay, Fu? She shook off the paralysis with a grin. You know me, takes more than that to put me down. But the moment of victory was short-lived. Pain lifted a hand. Enough. A terrifying pull yanked Naruto and Fu forward. Bansho Tenon. They had no time to resist. The diva path dragged them straight into his grasp. Shinra. A massive toad fist slammed down from above. Pain barely managed to leap back before the attack crushed him, the ground shattering from the impact. Sorry I'm late. Jiraiya stood tall atop Gamabunta, his sage mode fully activated. Kakashi and Shikamaru landed beside Naruto and Fu, weapons drawn. We're ending this now, Kakashi said, his Sharingan spinning. Shikamaru smirked. Troublesome as hell, but I guess we're in for a fight. Naruto wiped blood from his lip, standing tall beside his comrades. Damn right we are. Pain, Kakuzu, and Hidan regrouped, their expressions unreadable. The true battle had begun.